All right, I think we're live. Testing. Let's make sure something is working. All right, perfect. We are in business. So we got a new podcast alert today. I just released a new episode with DOG Andrea Garcia on how she just recently embarked on a journey to underwrite and take down a 225 unit for a 55 plus community. That's going to be a good one. Make sure you guys check that one out. It's right out there on YouTube right now, youtube.com/ICan't_HE. Appreciate all the support, and please make sure you share the podcast with other people if you can. All right, so today we're looking at a deal in Bessemer. So I'm just going down, learning the market continuously. And this is in 35020. When you think about looking at the property in proximity to Birmingham, it's a little bit on the southwest side. Let's take a look at this area because I don't know this area too well. It's like an oak pastry. All right. This property is listed for $160,000. So this is pretty good because this is a decently renovated property, at least on the cosmetic side when looking at it. So this is going to be really good for me to pay attention to whenever I'm thinking about ARV, especially if I'm doing a very, very heavy rehab on this property. Okay. Now, this is in what county is it? I'm assuming this is Jefferson County still. Okay, still in Jefferson County. So we're going to do two things, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the FMR, the fair market rents. And the fair market rents is going to be access to small FMR. When you Google how to FMR, click on the first link, scroll down, click on this access to small FMR, and look up FY 2024 FMR. Click on your state, click on your county, and then boom, you're going to get by zip code, by bedroom count, what the maximum rent is by that. So you can see right here, it says the rent ceiling for a 4-bedroom is $1,440, and this is exactly what it is. So let's write that one down, 35020, $1,440, and then the 3-bed is the $1,290. All right, 35020, boom, 35020. All right. Now, the next I want to get is the market rent. Okay, I need to compare the rent ceiling against the market rent. So what I do is I typically go to affordablehousing.com. I go to the owner section. I go to the market rent estimator. That'll bring you to this page. When you come here, you can put in the address. You can put in the bedroom count. And the most important number that you care about here is going to be right here, this bottom right number. It says that on average, the rent for 24 units within a 2.62 mile radius is $1,394. All right. So I want to write all these numbers down, $1,394. And this is going to be important because you have to take the lower of the two number. One, just because of basics of conservatism, but also because of the test. It's called the rent reasonableness test, right? Even though it says right here, the rent ceiling is $1,440, and that typically includes utilities. So we haven't even talked about that yet. But you need to figure out what is the reasonable rent that you can charge for this property. Let me pull up the HCV guidebook, which is the Housing Choice Voucher guidebook. So Housing Choice Voucher is a new program name for what was previously known as Section 8. Now, this guidebook, if you go to the Section 2.2, you're going to see this test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. And it's defined as in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, which stands for the Public Housing Authority, whoever governs the local Section 8 vouchers, must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units, which just means that you can't charge more rent for a property simply because you're renting out to a Section 8 holder for the obvious reasons, right? Now, obviously, the rent can differ depending on whether it's a single family home compared to a condo, etc. So all these things matter, right? Age, quality, size, etc. So this is just the first test for you to figure out whether or not this is worth your time to analyze the deal even further. So let's go ahead and take a look at this property. Okay. Now that we've got some rent numbers here, let's plug in some of the details. All right. And you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io. On affordablehousing.io, there's this tab called Get Deal Analysis Tool. And if you click on that, put in your information, I promise you there's no spam. And I have automated sending out the spreadsheet to people because that seemed to be a bottleneck back then. All right, so now I'm going to put in the asking price of $159,900 for the rehab. It looks pretty turnkey, so I'm going to leave it at $2,400. But if you want to go through the rehab spreadsheet, you can plug in all those numbers. But typically, I just leave aside like $1,500 for the roof. I set aside $500 for some landscaping outside to keep it clean. But I'm assuming this property is painted already. I'm assuming this property is ready to go. There's no flooring updates based on the photos that I saw. So I'm going to leave that as is, right? Now, the next step I want to do is I want to get the property tax number. The property tax here, it says $46. That seems a little low, but I'm going to trust it for now. And then the homeowner insurance is $124. So I'm going to do equals 124 times 1.2. And I'm multiplying it by 1.2 because I'm assuming that there is a premium associated with insurance policy related to a rental property, right? Because typically rental properties, the insurance for them is considered a little bit more risky. So usually it's going to be a little bit higher. So that's why I'm adding a 20% premium to it. And plus that should hedge out a little because that property tax number looks a little low, but hey, let's just do that for now. I got some numbers here for 10% for maintenance. So 10% of my rent is set aside every single month is set aside for maintenance or knowing that my roof will need to get replaced in 10, 15 years, whatever that may be. I got 10% for property management and 5% for vacancy. So now I got monthly income rents. And like we said, we went to the lower of the two. So I'm going to do $1,390 for the monthly income rents. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my down payment. So my down payment is going to be 25%. So when I come to this cell, E19, I'm going to do equals to my asking price multiplied by my down payment percent, 25%. There's no other commissions because that's already included in this scenario. 2.5% for closing costs is $4,000, and then $2,400 for the renovations, which came from here. All right. Now I had to figure out what I'm financing. So my financing amount is going to be equals to my asking price subtracting by my down payment amount. So I will be financing $119,925 for this deal. Right now, I'm underwriting using 8.25% interest rate. Hopefully it goes down sometime, but I'm not banking on it right now. And I'm just going to put in a date here so it starts. No balloon. All right. And so now I got all my numbers in here. So I got my PITI all here, got my expenses here, and you're going to be able to see that for this property, if you buy it for $159,900, putting down a 25% down payment, and you got 8.25% there. Now all of a sudden, as a 4-bed, if you're renting for $1,390, you'd be negative cash flow of $53 a month after all expenses, right? And that's going to be what's really important for you guys to remember, is because you can't just simply take the rent and subtract the mortgage from it, because you have all these other expenses, which is money that doesn't belong to you, right? You might have thought you would have been making an extra $100, $140 a month if you did not set aside money every single month. But if you go 4 years, 5 years down the road, and now all of a sudden you realize that you have a $10,000 roof that you had to replace and you never set aside any money, you might all of a sudden realize that, hey, for the past 10 years, I didn't make any money because all the cash flow from the prior couple of years, it's all gone down the drain. Because even though you thought you were making money, it wasn't money that really belonged to you because you didn't set aside the money for the repairs. So that's something for you to pay attention to. Now, what I wanted to go through today is I want to show you how to adjust the numbers to figure out whether or not it's a deal. And so pay attention to this, right? Again, this is not investment advice, not soliciting any investment on this call. I'm simply showing you the work every single day to try to take emotion out of the game so that you can be a little bit more confident that you know what you're doing. So notice what happens to this cash and cash number, this negative 1.38 right now, as I lower my asking price. So when I lower this to, let's say, $130,000, it's now going up, right? How about 120? How about 110? How about 100? Boom, 105. Okay, so this is probably the maximum price I will be willing to pay to get to my target return of roughly 10%. So this gives me 9.8. All right, it's pretty close. So for $1,390, I would be cash flowing $256 now. This is 9.8% return. And this is assuming I was paying $105,000 for this property, assuming my rehab was $2,400. Now, let's do this. Let's run through some more scenarios, right? Because that's all we're doing. You have to understand how to take emotions out of the deal. So let's say all of a sudden your property is now doubled. Or I mean, your renovation not double, or maybe triple. Let's say you had an inspection and it actually multiplied by 5x. You thought you were going to spend $2,000 for your power, but they had an inspection and it reviewed something, and now all of a sudden you had to pay $12,000. Look what happened to your cash and cash return. It went down to 7.5%, right? So now what do? You have to negotiate with the seller to say, hey, I found all these issues, so I need to pay less for the property. So now you might say, well, what about his $100,000? What about his $95,000? Okay, great. So now that my rehab has 5x to $12,000, I'm now only willing to pay $95,000 for the property, because that brings me back to the same cash and cash return at 9.8%. Even though I'm cash flowing a little bit more, but my capital invested out of pocket is higher because I had to spend that money out, and I'm assuming I'm not financing it. So that's what I want you guys to all pay attention to, right? Because for every single property, there is a set of terms that makes it a deal. And when you pull those different levers, or adjust those different levers that can turn this into a deal, well, that's how you figure out how to make it a deal. So hopefully this helps. I hope you guys found this useful. Again, if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io, click on the get deal analysis tool, and my team will send the deal out to you, the spreadsheet out to you automatically. And this is what I hope you guys do. I hope you guys can copy my homework today. Just look at the same deal using the same spreadsheet after you get it from the website, and just put it on your own YouTube channel. Listen to the way I explain things. Find one part where you might have been a little confused and wish I could explain it a little bit better, and you explain it better. Because that's how we lift each other up, and that's how we truly help each other. I hope you guys have an amazing Friday. I hope you guys spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Without people like you guys, I would never have the home I grew up in. So thank you so much for what you guys do. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Thank you for spending the time with me to learn about affordable housing. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have an amazing Friday. I hope you guys learned something today. And I hope you guys can continue to build the confidence by putting in the reps, putting in the practice. Just remember, all it takes is 18 minutes a day. 18 minutes a day, and you'll be better at analyzing deals in 95% of the country. So you can do it. Do it alongside with me. When you go live, tag me. I want to share you guys. I know how hard it is to build a following, but just remember, you don't need a massive following. You just got to be around people that you care about, because how much time do you really have left in this world? It's not much. Spend it wisely. Spend it with the people that you care about. Spend it with the people that you want to see win. That's what's most important. So I want you all to win. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow for day 259. Have an amazing day, everybody.